Over 45 million people in the United States faced food insecurity last year, literally not knowing where their next meal was coming from. In a land of abundance, why are there so many hungry people? And how is the church addressing this chronic issue? For more, we welcome Michelle Zurikowski, Executive Director of the Oak Park River Forest Food Pantry. We also welcome Reverend Leah Fowler, Associate Pastor for Youth and Adult Education at First United Church of Oak Park. What does food insecurity mean?
It basically means not knowing where your next meal's coming from. In America, most people don't starve to death, but there is hunger in that I may have enough money for breakfast and dinner, but not for lunch. Or I may have enough dinner meals for 5 of my family members, but not 6.
Why do we have so many hungry people in a land of abundance?
Hunger is linked to poverty pretty clearly. So one of the markers of food insecurity is low income wages or less employment. So more part-time work, but not an ability to work full-time. So surprisingly, education's not linked as clearly to food insecurity. About 40% of the people who rely on food pantries have some college education.
And Leah, now tell us, what is the connection between the church in Oak Park and the food pantry? Why is the food pantry such an important issue to the church?
Well, since the early 2000s, the food pantry was nested in our congregation, and that came out of the food pantry's been around for 35 years, 36 years, and it was an effort of all the different congregations in the Oak Park River Forest area pooling their resources to help make it possible. So it was originally a storefront, and then it moved into our building. But even before it was in our building, we've had a number of people who have been volunteering there and continue to do so because they see it as an important expression of their faith.
And one of the big volunteers there are youth. How are youth involved with the food pantry?
We have several youth who come there every week, and they will do everything from carry groceries out to cars to welcoming people as they check in, and they also come and sort food and do all different sorts of things.
And recently they went apple picking.
Our middle schoolers just went apple picking last month, and they donated all their apples to the food pantry. And I know the food pantry, Michelle always tells me they're glad to have fresh produce.
Yeah, right. Especially if, I haven't had any fresh apples yet this fall, so our clients were really happy to have that.
That's great.
Yeah.
I know fresh produce and other goods are great to be brought into the food pantry, but what are better ways to contribute to the food pantry?
Well, from an economic standpoint, it makes more sense to donate funds. We are able to purchase food through the Greater Chicago Food Depository, which is our local food bank. It's like a warehouse for us. So for every $1 that I could spend at a retail outlet, I can buy $10 worth of food at Greater Chicago Food Depository. So it makes a lot more sense economically to do monetary donations rather than food.
Educating people on issues like that is really important.
Right.
And how do we get that education out there? What are ways that we're currently doing that?
Well, actually, this past week, I just had a young woman and her father come talk to me. She's going to be bat mitzvahed next year. And so for her bat mitzvah project, she took this idea. She's been doing part of a Girl Scout food drive that's an annual event in our villages. And that's always been very exciting for her, but she began to see what the logistical difficulties were around that in terms of taking 10,000 pounds in one day and trying to manage it. And was talking to her dad about how it could be more efficient, and he told her about this $1 equals $10 worth of food if we got the money. And so she decided for her bat mitzvah project she wanted to take that on as an educational project. So she's got a social media campaign that she has in mind, and she's going to incentivize local food pantries to see who gets the word out the most. Then she's going to raise some money to donate to food pantries. So I think that's a great example of youth really catching on to an idea and furthering it.
Yeah, that sounds like a really innovative project.
Yeah.
Now, Leah, as a leader in your church, how do you educate kids about hunger who have perhaps never experienced hunger themselves?
Well, they see it. Just walking through the streets of Oak Park, every day there are people asking for food. And so they already grow up wondering, how can I make a difference? What should I do? It's a fact of urban living that we're faced with. And so many parents at a young age will start bringing their kids to the food pantry to help volunteer, and it really instills in them a sense of connection to our broader community. So yeah, and each church school class in our congregation has a different mission project, and some help with the food pantry and others help with Prevail, which is another social service agency that meets in our church, and with the PADS shelter also in our church. And many of those outreaches involve food.
Mm-hmm. Even the nursery school, there's a nursery school that's housed at First United, and their kindergarten class does a little food education, hunger education, and food drive.
For our faith, essential part of our worship experience is the sacrament of communion, and we always extend to that a sense of the spiritual need of us being fed, but also the need for us to be a whole people, that all people be fed, that no one go hungry. And so for me, theologically, it's really also an extension of what happens at the communion table, to take it out to the streets, take it to the food pantry, take it to our neighbors who are hungry.
Giving somebody a meal is really important. Looking beyond that, how do we as people of faith address the systemic issues that impact hunger?
Well, one thing I really appreciate about Michelle's leadership of the food pantry is that they really are concerned with taking it a step further. They don't stop at charity. And one thing that has been part of our mission statement at the church is a statement that says we will move from charity to changing systems of injustice. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, there will always be the need for food pantries and hunger, but with Michelle's leadership, there has also been efforts to take it to the level of policy. Right. And so I've gone with Michelle over to Danny Davis, our U.S. representative's Chicago office, to talk about, for instance, the rollback of SNAP funding, that's Supplementary Nutritional Assistance Program.
Very good.
Yes. And not only that, we've had members of our church, including some teenagers, who have gone with us to Washington, D.C. to lobby on Capitol Hill with our U.S. legislators to talk about hunger, as well as other social justice issues.
And that's really key, because with this latest rollback of SNAP benefits, which happened last year, it was basically some benefits ran out, and instead of renewing them, those weren't renewed. But in addition to that, there was a big push to eliminate even more benefits. And it would have resulted in every congregation in the United States having to come up with $50,000 a year to make up for that lack. And so that was something that we could really work together with people of faith to be able to advocate around from a real concrete standpoint.
And as people of faith, we do feel an urgency, a calling to help to feed the hungry. However, with the continuing rollback of governmental assistance programs, it's really affecting religious people because there's never going to be enough. And so we really want to do our work hand in hand and offer what we can as a community of faith, but also to advocate at the policy level to make sure that the government does its part in taking care of the citizens that live here.
And since 2008, the amount of families that the food pantry serves has increased substantially.
That's right. From 2008 to 2011, our client need increased 130%.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you, Leah, for sharing this important issue with us. I'm Leah Smith for Different Drummers and the Greater Chicago Broadcast Ministries. Keep the faith.